At midnight last night, the Dáil passed the second stage of the bill to decriminalise homosexual acts by consenting adults. Opening the debate, the Minister for Justice, Mrs Geoghegan Quinn, said the bill would leave homosexuals free to express themselves in personal relationships without the fear of being branded and punished as criminals.
Does anybody believe that if the laws from the last century, which we're now seeking to repeal, did not in fact exist, we would now be seriously suggesting that they would be enacted?
Are we now to see exhibitions in public by homosexuals, holding hands, kissing, cuddling, etc.? Is homosexual behaviour to be put on a par with heterosexual behaviour? And I think we should reflect that the majority of the people in this country would not favour such a move.
I think I always lived a fairly free life. I didn't care too much what people thought. I met Catherine, and over the early months of getting to know her, I absolutely knew I was in love with this woman. And I knew that at a number of levels of my being. And it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of my life.
It was horrible. Homosexuality was a criminal offence. The closet was part of most people's gay lives. Thankfully, it wasn't mine at that stage, but it was in a sort of an oppressive place to try and be gay in so many ways. And being gay or lesbian or bisexual, transgender, whatever, absolutely limited what you could be and how you could be in Ireland at the time.
We had to be pretty quiet about it. I mean, we weren't publicly out, but again, we did share it with some of our closest friends.
I'd run out of this country after college in 1989, 90. And part of the reason I ran out was the same reason that, so many other gay people did, because I just didn't feel like I could be a gay person here, or if I did, it was going to be very restrictive.
But I think, in another context, in terms of our relationship in our jobs, and Louise was teaching in a college that was managed by the Archbishop of Dublin. And yes, she did suffer significantly, and it still is it's still a legacy of our lives. I was teaching in theology in Trinity College. Yeah, I wasn't. People, we didn't share it publicly, as I said, but they knew, and it was not cool. And we did receive, I think, different discriminatory treatment as a result. So
decriminalization was super important, but like so many countries, we had those laws in the books, but it's not like police were trawling through Bewley's on a Saturday afternoon picking up the gays, whatever. So although that was an incredibly important change, I think that the results of that change were quite slow.
But having said that, we were, as I said, in love, having a wonderful time, doing what we wanted to do. So we could carry it. We could carry that. Yeah. And then as the years obviously unfolded, there was a building of the LGBT, LGBTQ, LGBTQ plus, over the time, the awareness, and we eventually became part of that. But I suppose we really didn't enter into that community, sector, whatever you want to call it, until we made a decision to look for a legal recognition of our life partnership.
With decriminalisation, the people involved in that campaign were very few. So there was the gay rights organisations and the very dedicated people in those organisations, and of course people like David Norris and whatever. But it was essentially a small group, doing that. That was just the times they were in it.
I had a father he was quite obviously fearless, but one of his basic tenet was never tolerate an injustice. He was a quiet man, but he simply felt that with a deep passion, never tolerate an injustice. And the older we became, the more we were convinced, look, we are actually accepting a profound injustice by not tackling this.
If you told me then that we would be celebrating marriage equality in 25 years' time or whatever it was, I just wouldn't have believed that. Well, for starters, I wouldn't have believed it about Ireland, because that change just would have seemed too huge. And secondly, of course, is marriage equality what just wasn't on the agenda for gay communities anywhere.
There wasn't any national organization that wanted to seek marriage at that time. Glenn was considering putting together some form of legislation for partnership. I chatted with them for a couple of years, actually. They were saying they were getting it together. By the time we saw a draft, it was a form of domestic partnership, which looked more like a business contract than what really represented our relationship. And it wasn't moving anywhere. So we made the decision to, take the case then. Which was huge, massive. We knew that it was going to be. But I think felt confident that in doing it, it was just the right thing to do. It's something that we should have.